Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. My name is Obiageli Ugwoke. The headlines. Federal government to spend 116 billion on road rehabilitation ahead of festive season. Senate passes 2020 finance bill for second reading. Plus, United Nations launches 2021 Global Humanitarian Overview, scores humanitarian community high in response to COVID-19. Many thanks for joining us. We'll begin with the Federal Executive Council meeting. The federal government is committing well over 116 billion naira for road rehabilitation projects as the nation prepares for the end of the year festivities. This was made known at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting held this Wednesday at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
So much issues placed before the president and his cabinet to be solved with just few weeks to the end of the year. As expected by Nigerians, the state of the roads should be and is of concern to the administration. Minister of Works announcing Babatunde Fashola presented 3 memos for consideration. 2 of the memos relate to rehabilitation of roads and bridges in some parts of the country.
It's a total sum of 18 billion 923 million 846,198 naira and 47 kobo.
The 3rd memo was for the procurement of a core banking application software costing 487.394 million naira that would enable the Federal Mortgage Bank provide frontline services as other banks do. The Ministry of Water Resources also presented 2 memos, one seeking to award a contract for the reversed cost and extension of time for consultancy service for Tado's Songhai irrigation project in Kwara State.
So we're looking for other ways and means to power our irrigation systems. We're looking at both national grid and also solar.
Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola sought and got approval from the council in the memos presented to enhance delivery in the Nigerian Immigration Service.
So the council approved the procurement of 44 operational vehicles for the Nigeria Immigration Service at a total contract sum of 768 million and 77,080 naira only.
The second memo is for the furnishing and the final phase of the consultancy for a technology building, which is a data and communication command and control center, and to equally serve as the headquarters of the Nigeria Immigration Service. 2 ministers presented reports of their interactions with stakeholders in their respective state as instructed by the president.
Very useful meeting, and they called for regular briefing so that the people will know what government is doing for them. It went on very well.
Very good meeting. There was a good feedback. There was commendation for the federal government. And then, of course, there has been outpouring of support for the effort of Mr. President.
11 ministers were physically present at the meeting and others joined virtually from their respective offices. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Thank you very much, Jide. In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari may have agreed in principle to address the House of Representatives on the challenges of security confronting Nigerian efforts at finding lasting solutions. The Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, discloses while speaking to NTA News after leading some principal officers of House to a meeting with the President. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the reports.
Following the recent killing of 43 farmers in Zabarmari community of Borno State, the House of Representatives adopted a motion of urgent national importance Tuesday this week, inviting President Muhammadu Buhari to address the members on the prevailing challenges of security and the way forward. Speaker Femi Bajabiamila is here in the State House alongside Deputy Speaker Ahmed Idris Wase and House Leader Alhassan Ado Dogua to present the resolution to President Muhammadu Buhari. During the closed-door engagement that lasted about 50 minutes, the House leaders conveyed to the Nigerian leader the concerns of the lawmakers and on which frank discussions were held. The Speaker of the House told NTA News that President Muhammadu Buhari was not only willing to listen and genuinely committed to securing Nigeria, but also agreed on a date for his State of the Nation address to what he called the House of the Nigerian people.
He's more concerned than me or you. That's all I can say. Than me or you. You know, they say on easy lies the head that wears the crown. And we'll leave everything until when he comes to the House. Let me not preempt him. But all I can tell you right now, and the DS is here, the leader is here to bear me witness, he's committed, fully committed to the security of the welfare, lives and property of Nigerians.
What is he coming to do in the House?
He's coming to talk to Nigerians through the House. You know, the House, as we have it, as it's constituted, all of Nigeria is present in the House. Every single constituency in this country is represented in the House. So when you shouldn't look at it as Mr. President talking to the House. He's talking to Nigerians through their representatives.
Speaker Femi Bajabiamila explained that the date agreed upon for President Muhammadu Buhari's formal address to the House of Representatives will first be conveyed to members at plenary before the public is notified. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And from the National Assembly comes a report that the performance of annual national budgets is dependent on the level of financial releases by the ministries, departments and agencies of government, and revenue generation determines these disbursements to shore up Nigeria's revenue for the funding of the 2021 budget. The executive drafted a bill that seeks to modernize Nigeria's tax laws. The bill has passed second reading in the Senate. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports. Moving on, former Nigeria's finance minister and former managing director of the World Bank, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has been announced as the recipient of the 2020 African of the Year Award. The award is coming a few weeks after the chair of the General Council of the World Trade Organization, Dr. David Walker, and facilitators of the process for the appointment of Directors General formally submitted a name as the WTO-DG designate, the candidate who has garnered the most support to head the organization. In a statement issued by her media advisor, Paul Nwabuiku, the Africa CNBC Award is the latest honor clinched by the multi-award winning development economist, one of the African Union's special envoys appointed to mobilize international support for Africa's efforts to address the COVID-19 economic fallout, and World Health Organization special envoy for the newly inaugurated Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator. And on Ghana's political development, Ghana's essential workers, including police, healthcare workers, and military personnel, cast their votes Tuesday ahead of next Monday's national elections. President Nana Akufo-Addo is facing 11 challengers, including former President John Mahama. The opposition leader is expected to be the president's strongest rival in the West African nation's election. And on global humanitarian overview, the humanitarian system proved its worth in 2020 with aid budgets facing their shortfalls as the impact of the global pandemic continues to worsen. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said this during the launch of the 2021 Global Humanitarian Overview. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports.
Conflicts, COVID-19 pandemic and climate change, analysts say, have created the greatest humanitarian challenge since World War II.
But the crisis is far from over.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the number of people at risk of starvation has doubled. Hundreds of millions of children are out of school and levels of extreme poverty have risen for the first time in 22 years.
We must mobilize to support those at greatest risk in these unprecedented times. We need $35 billion to get life-saving aid to 160 million of the most vulnerable people. And we must also continue to address the root causes driving humanitarian needs, starting with conflict.
The 2021 Global Humanitarian Overview, issued by the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, is a comprehensive, authoritative, and evidence-based assessment of priority global humanitarian needs and how to respond to them. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Let's talk health matters now. As countries across the globe grapple with the second wave of coronavirus, which reveals surge in infection rates 10 times higher than that of last spring, the British High Commission and the International Organization for Migration is providing equipment to 19 ports of entry (POE) in Nigeria to complement the Nigerian government's response to the pandemic. The reports say the program is tagged Immediate Response to COVID-19 Pandemic for Effective Border Management in Nigeria and is sponsored by the government of United Kingdom. This is the handover ceremony of personal protective equipment, PPEs, computers, amongst others, to Port Health Services and Nigeria Immigration Service. The equipment is donated by the International Organization for Migration with support from the British government. 19 ports of entry, including international airports, land borders, and seaports, are selected as the first set of beneficiaries of this donation. The effort is a demonstration of collective response towards ensuring frontline agencies are
from London
manage the national borders.
I am very clear that a continuing public health response, particularly with immigration authorities and the Port Health Authority, but more generally in Nigeria.
Through the generous contribution from the British government, the Port Health Services, the Nigeria Immigration Service and IOM Nigeria have worked hand in hand to strengthen the PHS and NIS response to COVID-19 pandemic for effective border management in Nigeria.
Dr. Alex Oko received the donation on behalf of the federal government.
On behalf of the federal government of Nigeria and the Federal Ministry of Health and Port Health Services in particular, I am delighted to be part of this historic partnership.
He says the donation is vital in strengthening and sustaining the response to the pandemic. The donation of these equipment is the first phase of the support. More facilities, such as ambulances, are expected to arrive soon. And on global COVID-19 updates, BioNTech vaccine judged safe for use in UK from next week as Ethiopia and UN reach Tigray aid deal. These and more with Uche Ugochukwu on Global Updates.
The UK has become the first country in the world to approve the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine, paving way for mass vaccination. Britain's medicine regulator says the jab, which offers up to 95% protection against COVID-19 illness, is safe to be rolled out. The first 800,000 doses will be available in the UK from next week. Meanwhile, a European Union lawmaker and physician has called the UK's decision to authorize the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine hasty and urges other European countries not to follow suit. In the meantime, the global infections rate surpasses 64.3 million, Africa at 2.2 million, In other news, the UN and Ethiopia have agreed to allow aid into the country's conflict-torn Tigray region. UN spokesman Savarino Abreu says an assessment mission begins Wednesday. Food and medicines are said to be running out for millions of people in the region. Elsewhere, a U.S. state of Georgia election official said President Donald Trump will bear responsibility for any violence that results from unsubstantiated election fraud claims he has said. Georgia is carrying out a secondary count of votes at the Trump camp's request, although U.S. Attorney General William Barr had declared that the Justice Department has so far found no proof to back the president's claim of fraud in election. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. Time to take a short break. We shall be back with more news in just a moment.
What limits you? Nothing. Who defines you? No one. Where can you go? Everywhere. With unlimited super-fast internet access, free Intel to Intel calls, and crystal clear quality conversations, you can do and be whatever you want to be. Intel. Live more.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Many thanks for staying with us. Still on COVID-19 response, the United Kingdom, through her Cabinet Office, has commenced a 3-day training to equip staff of the National Orientation Agency on COVID-19 communication strategy. Ikechukwu Ndukwe reports.
In fear of another lockdown arising from the resurgence of COVID-19 infections in Nigeria is the reason the National Orientation Agency is building capacity on how best to curb further community spread of the virus through effective communication strategies.
Irrespective of nationality, to serve the citizens of our country to the highest possible standard, we should always be searching for new ways to improve how we do this.
And define the items listed there to be relevant to the work that we do here. Training items such as strategic communication planning, setting communication objectives, outcomes and outputs, audience insight, turning data into action. This is very, very key.
The UK Cabinet Office says the training is to prepare staff members of the NOA on global best practice leveraging on the peculiarity of their mandate, while applauding the steps taken so far by the NCDC in containing the virus. In Abuja, Ikechukwu Ndukwe, NTA News.
Away from health matters, the federal government has put in place many interventions with the aim of lifting many Nigerians out of poverty and to empower youth to be self-reliant and employers of labor. This came up at a strategic meeting with leaders of micro, small and medium enterprises organizations in Abuja. Adebola Brooks-Sunday reports.
There is a widespread opinion by observers that micro, small and medium enterprises have the tendency to drive the economy of Nigeria, a nation of an estimated population of 200 million, of which about 70% are in youth demography. The Bureau of Public Service Reforms organized the meeting following lack of knowledge about the existence of these opportunities and lack of structured mechanism for engagement with citizens.
Youth restiveness, crimes and other forms of social disorders are clear indicators of unemployment and youth idleness, even in the midst of opportunities of economic advancement in this our lovely country.
Accessing funds is another identified challenge facing small business owners.
Certain levels of taxes have been waived for an SME. If you are not registered, if you are not recognized, you cannot access it.
Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, represented said NTA will continue to bridge the gap between benefactors and beneficiaries through its programs.
We also make it a point of duty from time to time to engage micro, small and medium enterprises so that they can tell us their stories, tell us their successes and tell us their challenges. And by extension, what we are doing is conveying this information to the general public
as contained in the MSMEDF guidelines.
The Federal Capital Territory Administration said it is ready to implement resolutions reached at the end of the workshop.
This administration has also continued to provide interest-free loans and business starter packs to thousands of trainees.
Resolutions arrived at are expected to help formulate an efficient implementation of SME support policies that will increase entrepreneurial activities and create more job opportunities for Nigerians. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
And on effort to end the gender-based violence in Nigeria, the Universal Campaign Against Rampant Cases of Sexual Abuses and Other Gender-Based Violence is galvanizing stakeholders' support towards eradicating of the social menace. The wives of Nigeria governors are again leading the effort to minimize the growing negative statistics of sexual violence against women and the girl child. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that the initiative is in line with the 16 global aid activism against gender-based violence.
In this all are women of substance who may not have been directly affected by the growing statistics of rape and other gender-based violence, but for them, it is an issue that deserves decisive action to address.
The action plan covers strategies such as access to justice, support for survivors, education and awareness, engaging communities, peer learning, and partnerships with various stakeholders.
Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, represented by Minister of Women Affairs Pauline Talin, says now is the time to unite and eliminate rape and gender-based violence in the country.
I would like to congratulate the Governors Forum for organizing this event and specifically identifying with the partnership established with all our First Ladies with the Ministry through this strong initiative on ending gender-based violence in our dear country. I further believe that your presence here is informed by our collective commitment to strengthen partnership and deepen understanding on ending gender-based violence.
They are raising their voices against the menace through the initiation of a process that will support victims of gender-based violence and prosecute perpetrators.
Governors demonstrate political will and zero tolerance for gender-based violence.
Working together with civil society, so it's a multi-faceted type of approach to this problem.
Hopefully after the public hearing, the VAPP Act will be domesticated in Imo State, and the governor has been so supportive in this cause.
Attention is also being paid to child labor, sexual abuses, and empowerment of more women to secure their future. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
From the judiciary, a suit seeking inclusion of women in leadership and decision-making positions in Nigeria could not be heard Wednesday due to non-appearance of the defendants. Justice Okon Abang of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered that the defendants be served with a fresh hearing notice to enable them appear on the 5th of February for hearing of the suit. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chimoba has more.
The suit filed by the Nigerian women, represented by 6 civil society groups,
is seeking declarative reliefs for the failure of the federal government, the first defendant, to implement 35% affirmative action and the overwhelming predominance of male gender into decision-making in Nigeria is a violation of the 1999 Constitution, the Gender Policy of 2006, and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. The plaintiffs are also seeking injunction restraining the federal government from exercising constitutional and statutory powers in a manner that violates the policy.
We've had a very, very low underrepresentation of women in political decision-making process in this country.
Justice Okon Abang ordered that the defendants be served with a fresh notice to enable them appear to be heard on merit. In another development, Incorporated Trustees of Forum for Accountability and Good Governance is seeking an order of mandamus compelling ICPC to investigate corrupt allegations against the interim management of NDDC.
The court has restrained them from performing any function, signing any documents in that capacity as members of the board.
The matter is adjourned to 8th of December. In Abuja, Viera Chumuba, NTA News.
And on sports, Nigeria to host 2021 Africa Under-18 Girls Volleyball Nations Cup beginning from 29th January to 7th of February 2021. Bade Adeleye tells us more on this and other stories on Sports Updates.
General Secretary of the Nigerian Football Federation, Mohammed Sanusi, has charged the Flying